My name is Melissa, and I'm an addict.
Hey, Melissa.
Okay, so first I just want to make sure, if you're here for a traditions workshop, raise your hand. Okay, if you might be in the wrong room if you didn't raise your hand, because I didn't expect there to be this many people in here. Like, I was like, this will go under the radar. Damn it! No. So I just want to first start off by saying that, and I think it's important to remember this for myself, because I got here earlier today and I just kind of went, like, I was just in my life thing, and just, I needed like a moment to just kind of like into the convention a little bit, and then, even here, sitting up here, I have to remember that there was a time not that long ago when I was sitting in like a second row somewhere, and I at the time had like 90 days clean, and I had a book bag, and I had pretty much, that was like my go bag, and I always had stuff in it, and I was always ready to go, if I needed to, and I carried that bag probably for the first 2 years of my recovery. So that was my safety blanket, and so I remember sitting there and thinking, wow, these people up at the front, they must be like the advanced people or something. They were like, I don't know, like the people I want to be one day, like, how do you do that? And and what kind of steals my thunder today is that really it was like somebody knew me and they needed help, and they knew they could count on me, so they asked me to do it. It wasn't anything like amazing, like, I pass the torch to you, you have arrived. It's just like, hey, I need help, will you do this? Okay. I'm like, so anticlimactic, but that's okay, because it's really not about me. Hopefully I'm going to carry a message today, and I did volunteer to do traditions. I was kind of offered a few choices, so I was like, well, I prepared on this a little bit, but I think sometimes it's important to remember, like, why I'm sharing on traditions, and it's not just about me lecturing on what the traditions are, and that can be hard sometimes to not go into. So first I just want to set that as I'm sharing my experience, strength, and hope, my personal experience, and my personal understanding. My views do not represent Narcotics Anonymous as a whole. I can just carry a message as myself, as an individual member, and diversity is our strength here. So, I wanted to start off by saying that I don't really care so much about the debate on whether the traditions are just for groups, or traditions are about, how I live, and what are they really for, and I don't care. But I will say that through learning about the traditions, I learned about membership, and I learned about boundaries. And those are things that I can apply in my day-to-day life. But I will reference the very beginning of when we're starting into the traditions. It says, understanding these traditions comes slowly over a period of time. We pick up information as we talk to members and visit various groups. It usually isn't until we get involved with service that someone points out that personal recovery depends on unity, and that unity depends on how well we follow our traditions. The 12 traditions of NA are not negotiable. They are the guidelines that keep our fellowship alive and free. And so what stands out to me is it says this happens slowly. We pick up information, and also it's not until we really get involved that we seem to get like the bigger experience. And so I don't know about anybody else, but I feel like NA does a lot of things backwards. And it's like basically like when they're like, you don't change your thinking with your thinking. You have to act yourself into a new way of thinking. And I'm like, well, how's that happen? And you're praying to a God, a higher power, but you don't know what that is. Well, just do it. And here it's like, well, how do I understand traditions? Well, just jump on in. You'll figure it out. And it says, like, we don't usually learn until we've broken some. So it's like, I don't know about you guys, but like when I first got clean, I felt like I had made so many fucking mistakes in my life. I was so tired of making mistakes. I felt like I was a mistake. I became a mistake because I'd made so many mistakes. And then I come here and it's like, well, you got to make mistakes in order to learn this. And I'm like, man, really? So it's okay not to know, and that's okay. And all I can do is share my understanding right now, where I'm at right now, okay? So my clean date is May 30th, 1999. If I stay clean, in May will be 20 years. Right. So, and that is all NA, because I was 22 years old when I got clean. Up to this point, I picked up one white key tag. I had people taking wagers on, like how long is she gonna stay here? I mean, I not everybody, but I did have people say I shot dope for 20 years, and I was like, wow, you're a loser. I was like, really? You're a bigger addict than me. Maybe I need to go out there and shoot dope for 20 years before I'm a member. And that's not what it's about. The thing is though, is that kept me clean, and I stayed clean on resentment for a long time. And I was clean, and I was crazy. But I was clean first, then we could work on the crazy part. Some of us, sometimes quicker, sometimes, a little longer. Some of us stay crazy for a while. I'm working on it. But, it says that, in our traditions that, each individual, the decision to become a member rests with us. So we choose to become a member. First of all, who wanted my opinion on anything? Who wanted me to become a member of anything they were doing? I mean, come on. Now you're saying I have a choice on whether I want to become a member. Well, it says that in our third tradition. I know I'm kind of jumping ahead, but I guess I'm going to go with it. So this is desire is the basis of our recovery. And that is in the very first second sentence in the basic text, tradition 3. And that everything is based off that desire. And the decision to become a part of our fellowship rests with the individual. The ideal state for our fellowship exists when addicts can come freely and openly to NA meeting, whenever and wherever they choose, and leave just as freely. And I don't know about you guys, but I really wasn't down for too big of a commitment. So I needed to know I could come and go as I chose. I didn't have anybody if I had to go leave the room, I didn't want nobody chasing after me. If and I also didn't want somebody with a clipboard at the door saying, "Oh, do you fit this checklist?" So I needed to have that free. I mean, y'all knew I belonged, okay? Y'all knew this was best for me, but I needed you to give me enough freedom, a little space, so that I could come and go as freely as I chose, and really going throughout. If we're looking through the traditions, it's a lot about that membership and about that choice. And this whole program is about choices. And I was told that once I got clean, if I relapsed, that was my choice. Anything I did was my choice. I didn't have a choice before. I have a choice now. And so that went along with if I was a member or not, because it was based on my desire, which means also I can't pin somebody down and make them become a member of this. I mean, then that's not free will anymore. That's control. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't think we do very well with being controlled. We're really good at controlling, but don't tell me what to do. I know what you should do. And then another theme that goes throughout the traditions is that it talks a lot about protecting ourselves from ourselves. And that's not something that stood out to me in the beginning. For a long time, in my understanding of the traditions, that's something that I've come across because, well, I've been an asshole sometimes. And I'm so glad that NA already had that thing to built-in protection about me, not turning this into Melissa Anonymous, because none of us would be clean right now, I'm telling you. These are our guidelines. And that's important. They were hard won, right? Says that. I never understood that in the reading, by the way. I'm like, hard won. That's such a weird, is that an old-fashioned term, like hard hyphen won? I didn't, anyway, that's just a little OCD thing for me. But, sorry, I'm getting a little excited and overwhelmed. So take a little moment. I kind of sat down and I looked back through the traditions just to give me at least some kind of direction to go. But, we can certainly talk forever about this, and I'm not trying to, read the whole book to y'all. And, but I did choose, I was going to come out of the guiding principles, but I'll tell you, I don't have as much experience with that book right now as I do with the basic text. You might notice you can see a lot of colors in here, a lot of things highlighted in multiple colors, and this is my first NA book. It's all beat up and raggedy, and my very first home group was a literature meeting. It was a step, tradition, and speaker meeting. And it was an hour and a half, and we had a smoke break. It was in Newport Richey, Florida. It was founded by a bunch of angry dudes from New York. And we took our time and we would go through the step and corresponding tradition. And long before I could actually sit still long enough to read, I got to read along with somebody, and I got to hear a lot of experience, strength, and hope. And that's where my foundation really started. I'm so grateful for that, because there's enough open discussion meetings out there. If I went to nothing but open discussion meetings just for myself, I would be in trouble, because this is what brings me in and calms me down, because there's a security and a stability found in the traditions. And it does say that in our traditions, about protecting that atmosphere of recovery. So I'm just saying for myself, I need that. I need other input besides just a free-for-all meeting, because I've been to meetings where it's you see one person, they have this idea that they have decided that this is a recovery idea, and then everyone parrots it around the room, and it turns into a game of telephone. And then next thing you know, it comes around, you're like, that's not even I don't understand. Where does it say that in the literature? And maybe some are sicker than others. I might be one of them. I don't know. So, moving along. I can say that, being a part of that home group, and it says that our home group is our highest level of service, that's where it all started. And, I had to learn how to get along with these roughneck guys. I was the only girl in the group, and, we somehow made it work, and we kept our purpose. It was called our primary purpose. So at the time, we used to do the whole you down with OPP, and that was our thing. But I'm a little bit nervous because you guys are all looking at me, and but it's okay, because I'm not it's all right, because it's going to keep me honest. I'm kind of almost feel like I'm going to be wrapping it up soon. I noticed in the end of Tradition 12, in the last paragraph, it says, "We have heard the phrase principles before personalities so often that it is like a cliche. While we may disagree as individuals, the spiritual principle of anonymity makes us all equal members of the group. No member is greater or lesser than any other member. The drive for personal gain is in the areas of sex, property, and social position, which brought us so much pain in the past, falls by the wayside if we adhere to the principle of anonymity. Anonymity is one of the basic elements of our recovery, and it pervades our traditions and our fellowship. It protects us from our own defects of character and renders personalities and their differences powerless. Anonymity in action makes it impossible for personalities to come before principles." And I just really like that, how it kind of wraps things up. You know, I've had lots of experiences with applying that in my own life, and I've certainly had my defects get in the way in service work because we become passionate, but ultimately, you know, if we're keeping that primary purpose, you know, a lot of us are just passionate. We just may have different ways of trying to get to where we're trying to get to. But I guess I'm kind of like done, so I'm going to turn it over. Thank you.
Thank you,
Hello, family. My name is Vance, and I'm an ag.
Hey, Vance.
How long do we have?
20 minutes, 15, 20.
Okay. All right. I want to say it's a good day to be clean.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't think it's a good day to be clean, go out and try to do some dope and find out how your day will end up. I don't think you'll enjoy that too much. But one of the things that, first of all, I like to say that I'm very thankful that GRCNA, asked me to do this workshop. And I was rushing to get here. I came all the way from Atlanta, and I had to run through a lot of traffic and everything, so I got here right on time, on time. And when they asked me what workshop I wanted to do, I volunteered for the traditions. And one of the reasons I did that was because the traditions are, well, I'm kind of like old school. And I like to say this, traditions, steps kept me from committing suicide, and traditions kept me from committing homicide. And the deal is that I need to know how to get along. I need to know how to be in relationships. And first of all, I had to understand that I had suffered from a disease, and it was from selfishness and self-centeredness. That was the core of that disease. And one of the things that happened was that it centered around nobody but me. But then when I got here, I started to hear some different things. And one of the things that I heard was that I had to give up the me for the we. And I never heard that before because I never wanted to give up nothing. Nothing. I was one of those ones that I want to fight to the end. That's why it took me so long to get here. And, because I always had this attitude of I can stop when I want it. I can handle it when I want it. I can have control when I want it. But one of the things that I found out was that everything that I thought was going on wasn't happening. It wasn't happening at all. And after getting here and getting a sponsor and doing some of the things that the program suggested to do, because see, I had to get what you would say, come here in desperation. See, I came in desperation. I used for a very long time. I used for about close to 34 years. Okay, and as of April 16th of this year, I'll have 23 years.
Wow.
And during that period of time that I used, I wasn't in a relationship. The two main relationships I wasn't into was one with me and one with my God. See, I found out that there was a God once I got here, and I ain't it. And that was a big revelation for me. Okay, a big one. And one of the things that I had to find out was that God had been with me all the time. I just wasn't hanging out with him. And when I came in here and relieved some of the, I guess you would call it, some of the madness and destruction that I had going on in my life, one of the things that happened for me was that I got a sponsor, and he suggested, the first thing he suggested to me was get into service. He thrusted me into service immediately. And once that happened, I had to immediately get out of myself. Immediately. All of a sudden, it wasn't about me no more. It was about serving, not only serving this God of my understanding, but serving the fellowship. And one of the things that I found out was that once you start getting into service, you learn, like she said earlier, you learn, that is the, I'll say that's the arena where you learn how to apply traditions. See, that is the arena where you learn how to apply traditions. And then I found out one of the things, see, I became a service junkie, okay? I've been in service for almost the entire time I've been in Narcotics Anonymous. And it's because it works. See, anything that works for me, I'm gonna get in it and stay in it. And what I'm gonna do is, I wanna read from the guiding principles, the introduction, the first two paragraphs on the introduction. And it talks about, it says, our 12 traditions are about relationships with ourselves, our groups, our service bodies, and our higher power. While they address our practices in service, they also provide a firm foundation for us to learn how to live. They are practical and spiritual at the same time. Our traditions help us to navigate navigate, and they remind us where we are going and where we are likely to run aground. They also remind us that we steer our own ship. Unity, anonymity guides us, not uniformity, not governance. We surrender authority to a higher power and we come together as equals. The primary purpose is to carry the message to the addict who still suffers. If we are to accomplish that, we need recovery ourselves. We need to come together in unity to build the groups and to provide the service. That make recovery available to us all. We need every principle, every resource, and every member. Humility, empathy, and love are the keys to selfless service. And selfless service frees us from the self-centeredness at the core of our disease. Yet many of us who have tried to recover on service alone find, sooner or later, that without doing the hard work of the 12 steps, we don't have tools to live by these principles. We need steps if we are to follow the traditions. And we need the traditions to create that atmosphere in which we find love, safety, and anonymity necessary to work the steps. Together, our steps and traditions allow us to grow, thrive, to interact with others, and to sustain ourselves through difficulty. These spiritual principles and practices can guide us in the decisions in service and throughout our lives. Although we each have different ways of connecting with the learning about traditions, we can all agree that these are the principles that keep us alive and free. And see, I have to understand that me being a part of anything, whether it's service work in ENA, a marriage, on my job, wherever, I have to apply the spiritual principles behind the traditions. I have to fit in. See, it's not where, like a lot of people think that traditions are just for the group. It's telling me how to be a part of the group. That's what traditions are. See, I have to follow traditions in order for me to fit in. See, to fit in to a marriage, there's certain things that I gotta do to fit in that particular group. To fit on my job, there's certain things and certain behavior I have to conduct myself with. And all of them, any of them, the spiritual principles behind these traditions can help me to fit in to where I'm not thinking I'm the hot stuff. See, because every time we're human, and I know for me, and I'm gonna just talk about a little bit of my experiences that when I first started to do this and get into service, I was thrusted in and became a GSR, and then I got on the area, and then all of a sudden people started seeing something in me, and they assigned, they wanted me to be a part of the structure of the service body. And eventually I ended up becoming the area chair. When I became the area chair, I loved it. I loved the fact that, I'm in charge. I'm running the show. And my name on some stuff too. But I had to, see, in the process of learning how to be that trusted servant, I had to end up understanding that it wasn't my show. And like she said, it happens a lot of times by breaking traditions that you learn how to apply them. And there were plenty of times when I didn't want to agree with certain things that went on or decisions that were made. But I had to learn to step back and not force my idea or the way I wanted to see it on the rest of the group or the rest of the service body, just because I was in charge, or just because I was a chairperson. Because see, like I say, you're not in charge no way. It's a God thing, see? And I had to understand that and come to understand that, because a lot of people that I've seen that take on service positions, all of a sudden, we got some power now, and you got to do what I say, and you got to be how I got to do it. And then the next thing you know, we come into those conflicts, those controversies that the readings talk about. And when those controversies come up, then all of a sudden you really see who that person is. You really start to see if this person is working steps. You really start to see where they're at. And the deal is, it's not about judging, because see, like Tradition 3 talks about, I'm a member when I say I am, and it's determined by my desire. My desire is about what I do, not what I say. See, my desire is determined about what I do in Narcotics Anonymous, not what I say. Just because I come in here and I come into a room and I come into a meeting and I sit down and I say I'm an addict, don't mean I'm a member. It don't mean I'm a member. See, it's about my desire. My desire is determined by when I come in, what do I decide to do? Do I decide to get me a sponsor? Do I decide to follow some of the suggestions that they tell me to make? Do I get phone numbers and get a network? Or do I just come in and be a bench warmer? Now, I don't know if any of y'all ever played sports or not, but when I played sports, I didn't want to sit on the bench. I wanted to get into the game. I wanted to get my suit dirty, because I played football. See, And I want to catch some passes and make some touchdowns and that kind of thing. Now, if I ain't doing that in Narcotics Anonymous, then it tells me about my desire. But see, nobody can determine your desire but you. And you have to be the one to decide how much involved you're going to be in this thing. Because if you are, like they talk about, see, if I put in just a little bit of effort, then that's just what I'm going to get out. See, I don't know what kind of dope fiend y'all was, but I was the kind of dope fiend that I wanted the best dope. I went for the best. And wherever it was, I went to try to get it. No matter where that was, across the country, wherever. You know, I wanted to get it. So why can't I be that way about my recovery? Why can't I be all in? See, I had to get all in this. And being all in means that I have to do all the stuff that they suggest for me to do if I want to get the majority of the benefits of this program. That's why, I guess that's why I turned into a service junkie. You know, like I said, I stayed in this service almost my entire clean time and was always doing something, you know, to the fact of, they even gave me a nickname about 10 years ago. They used to call me Mr. West End. Because every time they saw, you know, one of the West End schedules or something, my name was on there somewhere doing something, you know. And it was like, and I enjoyed the recognition and all that. But the more thing is, my sponsor told me, he said, being in service and doing service buys you time. See? And it gives you something to do instead of going up in that itty bitty committee. It also gives you a responsibility, some accountability, some of the things that you never was doing when I was using dope. See, and all of a sudden, I start being feeling a part of, not being the it, but being a part of it. And traditions and applying the traditions help me to understand how to be in relationships and how to meet people where they are at. See, I can't judge you because you may have 5 days, or you may have not worked traditions. You may have been here 30 years and never worked steps. But if you come in and you say, hey, I want to do this, I had to take a look at what God did for me. He turned the light on when it was time for it to come on. And I can't do that for anybody. All I can do is share my experience, strength, and hope, and hopefully somebody can get something from that. But it's up to the individual. See, that individual has to make that determination of when they're going to do it, what path they want to follow. Now, the key to it that a lot of people don't recognize is that the process is the same. The process is the same. Now, the journey may be different, but the process is the same. See, the minute you start, and I was in a meeting the other night and I heard this, the minute you stop being so concerned about doing dope and be more concerned about correcting the dope that picked up the dope, that's the dope you need to deal with. See, once I understand that, dope can't do nothing to me unless I pick it up. Mm-hmm. Now let's deal with the dope that makes the decision to pick it up. When I start working on him, that's when the light comes on. That's when things start to happen. And that's when I want to become that part of. Because before I got here, I never was a part of anything. You know, I thought I was, but I wasn't. You know, before I got here, I thought I was the it. You know, and you had to be a part of me. But what I found out was that I'm a part of this great universe of that God, my understanding, and He's everything. And this is what this program is about, getting me closer to Him. See, applying these principles in my life so that I can get closer to Him. See, early on, I've got this in recovery. You know, they told me that if you come here and you don't have a God, if you're going to plan on staying, you better find one. You know, and He needs to be loving, caring, and all powerful. You know, and I had to do that. And developing that relationship means that I can develop a relationship not only with Him, with myself, with other people too. And I can learn how to behave. See, because it was about my behavior. The book tells me, you know, only thing that defeat me in my recovery is my attitude. My attitude and my indifference towards spiritual principles. Mm-hmm. Nothing else. You know, so it doesn't promise me, you know, the program doesn't promise me not to go through trials and tribulations and people not seeing it my way. But I have to be okay with that. Because I don't run the show. And I'm just as crazy as they are. And I have to understand that. There's a reason I'm here. You know, I don't know it all. And glad I don't. Because if I knew it all, y'all be in trouble. Y'all would be in trouble. And I'm glad that there is a God and I ain't it. Because see, His spiritual principles, not only behind the steps and the traditions, are the things that guide me in my life today. And if I apply them, there's nothing that I can't accomplish or do and not get through, you know, and get through it clean. But I have to be willing. You know, it says, all I have to be honest, open-minded, and willing. And if I got those, I'm good to go. Good to go. And I think my time is up, I believe. But I want to thank y'all for being here. And I'm going to point this out. This is a tradition workshop. And just like she said, how crowded it is. Look how crowded it is. But see, the deal is that a lot of people don't understand. This is where the crowd needs to be. This is where the crowd needs to be. And I learned that early on in recovery, is that you need to know about what you're being a part of. And you need to know about it fully. You know, you just don't get you know, when I was learning how to deal with the drugs, I didn't want to just deal with part of it. I wanted to know all about it. You know, I wanted to know how to smoke crack, how to cook cocaine up. I tried to find out all that. And I wanted to know everything about it. Why can't I know everything about this? It's saving my life. See, that's the kind of effort and desire I need to be putting into my personal recovery, because it's for me, nobody else. And that's how I have to look at it. This is for nobody else but me. My sponsor tells me all the time when they talk about going to a meeting, he says that you can go to the meeting and you can hear all that stuff they talk about. The newcomer is the most important person at the meeting. But you never forget, you are the most important person at the meeting. Because at any day, you could be a newcomer with a situation or a subject that goes on in life. So, and there's a reason that you're at the meeting. So don't forget, you're the most important person at that meeting, if you're there. And remember who you are. I want to thank y'all for letting me share a little bit of my experience with the hope today.
Thanks for sharing.